This video will show you how to use FireBug to find CSS and JavaScript errors in your code. First of all, we'll open up our sample page FireBug demo.html, and you can see it here. If I do a refresh, it asks for the user's name and it prints it out on the screen. I'm using the JavaScript to show where we're printing things out. So this is in the display hello function, and this is in the display hello function. This is in the body. And if we look at our code, you can see here is the function display hello. This is a little bit of CSS that styles and makes things look pretty. So here we set our body with the background and our H1. And then here's the main body of the page. You can see the H1 here, using FireBug to check for code errors. And then here's a paragraph. And in the middle of the paragraph, we set up a JavaScript block or element. We do a document write, and then we call our function. So right here the program jumps up into the memory that we have from our head, and it calls this block of code right here. And just real quickly, what this block of code does is it writes out this phrase, then it writes out two carriage returns, and you could put this all on one line like we did down here. Here's a document write, and we put it all on one line. Or you can break it into two lines. Then we set up a variable or a bucket to hold information, and we use the built-in prompt function to ask the user what his or her name was, and we put in a default value so we didn't have to type anything. Now if the user just hits enter, that automatically puts this value or this string into our variable or our bucket, and then we print out whatever's in that bucket along with some more information and a line return. So once again, to run the page, it asks us for a username, and you can see it took the value that the person typed in and output the text. Now we have FireBug loaded, and you can see that by looking at Tools, Add-ons, and you can see that we have FireBug. So here's our FireBug. And we can disable it if we want, because FireBug does take up a lot of resources. So if your web pages are loading slowly, you'll probably want to disable it when you're not using it. And down here in the corner you can see the FireBug icon. If I turn that on, we have lots of things that we can use in here, but we're going to focus on the console for this video. So we're going to make sure it's enabled. We're going to have FireBug show our JavaScript errors as well as our CSS errors. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to break our code. So let's break our CSS first. So let's say that we forget this colon right here. So I make the change. I go back to my browser and run it. And right away, if we click on the console tab, we can see that we have an error. And it was expecting a colon, and it found a value instead. Then FireBug gives us a line. It shows us where it was broken, and it gives us a line. So we'll go to that line, and you can see that it stops right there. So let's go back into our editor. And here it saw it right on line 48. There's our colon. So let's take out the semicolon and see if that does anything. Now it shows up our HTML, so we're going to click on the console, and it tells us that I didn't find the semicolon. Again, we'll go back to our editor, look at line 49, and that one's okay, but it's the line before it where it's broken, which made the FireBug think that it was line 49. Again, I made the fix, I did a save, I'll do a refresh, and click on the console, and I see that there's no errors. Now, FireBug can also, and very helpfully, catch lots and lots of JavaScript errors. So let's go in here and just throw in, let's forget to put in that concatenation marker, that plus sign. So this takes our variable name and adds it onto this string. So let's say we forgot to type that in. We do a refresh. Right away, FireBug goes into our script and it says, oh, there's a problem here. But if you look at the console, it will tell you exactly what's happening. So it's missing a parentheses after the argument list. It takes you to line 30. Now the reason it's missing the parentheses is because with that plus sign missing, it doesn't know what to do. So it's thinking it's missing the parentheses. After a while, you'll learn that error message. That really means we had to concatenate. And if you leave a quote out, let's see what happens with a quote. Well, let's fix this. Make sure it runs. Now notice how many times we've gone through this program we haven't had to type in a name. Now it says display hello is not defined. So we have to go in and see there's probably some error in our function. All it takes is one error for it not to work. And I think it was my cache. I think I had old memory that was showing it. Now I show that I'm clear. And now if I do have mistakes, I can clear my console and show it again. So let's bring in one more error. Another thing that happens really common is to leave off a quotation mark. So let's say we move this all onto one line. And I forget my quotation mark. Right away it tells me there's a problem in that function. So I go to console, it tells me it's on line 22. And if I look on line 22, then we have to sort through this to see what's going on. And we could either do it like this and concatenate on our breaks, or we could just merge them all together. Let's try this and see how this works. I'm going to clear my console, get rid of all my errors, and then I'm going to do a refresh. And let's try refresh again. There we go. So it's just in our memory. And I can also merge them all together and see if that works. And we can see that it does. Everything works up here and we're good to go. Now to turn my FireBug off, I can either click on this X here, or I can click on my FireBug down the bottom and brings me back to my page. So that shows how to use FireBug to catch CSS errors as well as JavaScript errors. You'll find the console a great tool and one that you should use often to help catch your errors when your functions aren't working.